I'm Mary Golick. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking to you about ancestral healing, and how fitting because it's November, the month when we celebrate the dead. So I'm happy to share the part of my story that has to do with an ancestral piece. In the United States, we have a very individualistic culture. Other cultures are a bit more advanced in recognizing the interdependence of families and systems and other people in our lives. But in America, we tend to not think about it as much as we should and as we need to. But there is a very important family piece, and some of the burdens that we carry aren't originally ours. We have an increasing awareness of mental health and trauma and how that impacts us, but sometimes even that isn't quite enough. Sometimes there are deeper things that root more deeply below the surface that we need to be aware of. So that's a little bit what I'm going to talk about here. Now, when I was little, I had been watching one day the movie The Prince of Egypt. It's the story of Moses from the Bible freeing the Israelites from Egypt. DreamWorks did a lovely job with the music and animation. The cinematic elements, along with the story itself, really captivated me. On this particular occasion, after I finished watching the movie, I went to find my dad and tell him how much I enjoyed it. My dad responded by telling me that Moses was an eagle and that you are not an eagle. I said, okay, confused. I had never had the intention to tell my dad that I saw myself accomplishing something on par with freeing thousands of God's chosen people from slavery. It wasn't on my radar at all. For some reason, my dad found it important for me to hear that message. 25 years later, I started to wonder if the message wasn't only bizarre and untimely, but also wrong. I considered the humanity of my parents. Don't get me wrong, I was long past believing my parents to be perfect. That ship had sailed. My mom especially caused me a lot of pain. But I did start to think beyond just the ways that they hurt me into how their own personal and ancestral wounds shaped their quirks, fears, and beliefs. What history in my dad's life compelled him to say this, I wondered. I considered that underneath the words, "you are not an eagle," there rested a deep-rooted fear of success. As I considered that, I thought, finally, so that's where I get it from. All of a sudden, I realized that, at least in part, this is why I always felt a sense of duty to make myself small in comparison to other people. If anyone ever hinted at jealousy toward me, I took it extremely personally. It was the most extreme failure on my part. I could not stand it. So my job became to ensure that no one ever became jealous of me or thought too highly of me. It was a job I carried out faithfully throughout my life, without question. In fact, for most of my life, I didn't even realize I was doing it. Later, when I got into witchcraft, it did coincide with a conscious decision to stop hiding my power. For the first time, I became aware of what I was doing, but it would take another year or two to connect the ancestral piece. The reason that I had this hide myself belief wasn't just from personal experience. It was a family belief that I had inherited. I chose to get to the bottom of it, and I had questions for my dad in particular. My dad, though, had passed away 14 years previously when I was a freshman in college. So I scheduled a day and a time that I could talk to him. Then I made preparations. My Catholic upbringing had left me with a mixed understanding about how to communicate with the dead. You are not supposed to summon the dead, but you can say prayers to canonized saints who are dead and talk to them. If you want to talk to dead family members who aren't saints, it is okay as long as you don't add any ritualistic elements to it, like candles or food. Unless you're Hispanic, then you can get away with leaving food offerings because it's cultural. And if the person is canonized, you can light candles and leave flowers. The rules get confusing. So what I did was light a candle and leave a chair open. Then I poured 2 glasses of buttermilk. When I was a child, anytime I couldn't sleep at night, my dad would pour us each a glass of buttermilk. So here I am now as an adult, pouring him a glass of buttermilk. And after I did that, I had a good cry thinking about my dad. It felt meaningful. I felt his presence in the room. Then I pulled out my list of questions and presented them. My frustration showed, but I was also soft and receptive to the responses that came to me, just allowing whatever came up to come up and trusting whatever came into my mind and my own intuition. In the end, he left while I wasn't looking, so to say. I had never visibly seen him, and yet, while I had my eyes closed tightly, full of tears, wiping my face with my sleeves, I felt him leave. I opened my eyes and felt that we were done. I had asked all of my questions. He didn't stay any longer than necessary, and that was fine. I just didn't get a chance to say goodbye, and I sort of prefer it that way. I felt like I did get the answers and guidance that I was seeking. I felt confirmed that my dad's family carries an ancestral wound about needing to hide power. Considering my affinity for witchcraft, intuitive gifts that definitely are prevalent in my family, yet no one really talks about, and my grandmother's having some type of English, Scottish descent that feels hushed for some reason, I think that what happened is my grandmother brought a Celtic pagan lineage into the Croatian Catholic lineage of my grandpa, and that brought some magical intuitive abilities that got ignored or hushed or people were ashamed of. And they got hidden. I'm guessing at some point in my family line, whatever abilities existed had to be hidden for some reason, one reason or another. So warning your child to not be an eagle seems like a really peculiar fear. And coincidentally, I have come to see the golden eagle, particularly the golden eagle, as a power animal or totem for myself. And this got driven in by seeing them symbolically in the real world. One day, while I was driving home from work, I saw a pair of eagles, so not just one, but 2 together, doing their mating ritual and landing in a small yard of grass right on a busy road in town, which is quite a rare experience to see them land like that and right in town. And it felt so magical that I wondered if everybody else driving by could even see what I saw. I wondered if I wasn't just making it up in my mind or if it wasn't some type of fantasy. But I believe it was quite real, and I believe it was very symbolic. Symbolically, the eagle is the highest soaring creature, and so it announced to me in my life that it's time to soar, time to fly high. So I made a choice, very similar to what I did when I left my ex. I made a conscious choice, and I said something along the lines of, I choose to release all the imprisoned power of myself and my ancestors. I no longer hold the belief that I must hide my power or make myself small. I ask for healing in my family tree, any place where those beliefs caused harm. I felt a lot of healing in that, just in saying the words. But that was particularly my dad's side only. There was more to the story. And of course, not everything was perfect in my dad's side. I wasn't surprised to find some of this stuff. But on my mom's side, I know there's a trauma history. And I know there's a lot there as well. It stands to reason because you don't end up with certain types of personalities unless something happened. Within the past year, when I was invited to a small family gathering, it took place several months after the seance, we'll call it, with my dad. I knew then that I would be able to find some answers and do some energetic healing while I was on that trip. On the drive from the Seattle airport around the Sound, Puget Sound, to a small town in the rain shadow of Washington, I stopped by the ocean in Tacoma. I called on some of the negative threads I felt in the family line and said that I would throw all of the negative energy into the water there and leave it. I would not be taking it back with me. While I was staying with my uncle and aunt, I learned a little more about suspected traumas in our history, but I also just learned more about the story of my family on my mom's side. All of the skills I need are in my blood. I can release the trauma and negative energy and hold on to all the success, grit, and intelligence that has been passed on. My family has a lot of really valuable skills. Keep in mind this whole time I'm working as a server in a restaurant, even though I have a master's degree. Just not knowing what I want to do or if there is really anything I can do successfully. This trip helped me pull my head out of my butt and realize that I can do literally anything that I want. And that led to a renewed sense of creativity. Since I got home from the trip, I've been writing nonstop every single day. If I'm not working or walking my dog, I'm writing. And I started to make videos of myself singing and dancing. I feel more freedom. I don't need to fit a box. I can create the version of my life that I want. Telling you this part of my story is only the first step. After this, who knows? I am an eagle. God bless.